Well, hey there! Welcome to the channel where you will find love, laughs, and DIYs. My name is Crafty Kathy. I'm the owner and creator of Kids Vintage Farmhouse here in beautiful Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I am so happy and thankful that you stopped in to craft and spend a little time with me today. This week I've been working on some farmhouse decor for you guys. I was actually inspired by a calendar, believe it or not. It has the most gorgeous pictures in it, and I got to thinking it's been a while since I've done farmhouse on my channel, and plus I have a spare bedroom in my home for my guest that is in desperate need of some beautiful decor, and I decided to do farmhouse in that bedroom. So we're not going to waste any time. Let's jump on in. Now, I can't talk about this gorgeous calendar without showing it to you guys. I got this from one of those stores. It's like the Amazon bin stores, you know, where one day you pay like $5, the next day it goes down to $3, and they get all their stuff from Amazon. Now, these calendars were over in the corner. There was all different kinds, and the lady said, please take those. They're free. There was about 6 of these that had this farmhouse scheme in them, and honey, I took every single one of them. And guess what? I'm going to give them away to you guys. So if you're interested in being one of the winners of one of these calendars, just go to the comment section and put the word calendar down there. That way I know you're interested. Now, this is like coated with vinyl or something. It doesn't feel like regular paper. I can't really describe what it feels like besides to say it kind of feels like vinyl. Anyways, I went through this calendar and I picked out 4 pictures that I absolutely loved. One was the barn, and then the second one, of course, is going to be the chickens because you know I'm a crazy chicken lady. I also picked out the beautiful cow because I thought it just kind of went with everything. And then the very last one that I'm going to take is going to be this little old fat pig in the back. What I'll do is show you how I did one of these because I did them all the same and it would be so repetitive and boring if I went through every one. I just opened up these canvases that I have and we're going to do a reverse canvas method. And that's just where you simply take your X-Acto knife and you cut on the outside portion of the staples. And then you just pull that canvas part off. But hold on to it because we are going to use it for the backing. That way our pictures look nice and cohesive. Now we're going to stain our frame. And I used the Dixie Belle Tobacco Road Gel Stain. And to me, this gel stain, the color of it and the feel of it is a lot like the Waverly Antique Wax. So if you have the antique wax, just use that. I just put it on with a simple brush and then I just wipe off the excess with the baby wipe. And I went all around my frame, making sure that I get inside the inner portions also and on the outside. Then I just laid my picture down behind the frame. That way I know exactly where I need to cut at. And I use this little instrument. I'm not really sure what it's even called, but I know I got it off of Amazon. And the sides of it are almost, they're like little rounded balls on the end of it. And you can use it to show yourself, like, you know, show the lines and stuff where you need to cut. I just went around the frame just like this thing was a pin, and it showed me exactly where I needed to cut at. However, with this calendar being this different material that it is, like I could literally fold it and just rip it, and it was so easy. And when I kind of tore it, it gave it that look that I like, because you know I don't like straight edges anyway, and it just gave it a perfect look, and it was just so easy to do. I didn't even have to pick up my scissors to do this part. And then once you get it to the size you need, you're simply going to flip it over, and I used my electric staple, and I put a few staples all around it just to make sure that it's nice and taut. Then I'm going to put the canvas back on them. That way it looks like it's a nice professional finished piece. Now my canvas was a 12 by 12, so I went right to the center, which was the 6-inch mark, and I made a little line so I would know where to put my hanger. I love those hangers that you just hammer in because they are so easy. And that's all I did to finish all 4 of my pictures, and I hope you like these. I think they're beautiful.
Well, I wanna take a ride in the wheelbarrow in your mind. Take me all around to the thinking places where you spend your time. Ain't no place I'd rather go. You're a funny little critter and I love you so. And I wanna take a ride in the wheelbarrow in your mind. Come and sit down with me in a rocking chair. Coffee pot is nice and hot. We can sit in our underwear. Tell me about the dreams you had last week, swimming all around with the fish in the sea. Come and sit down with me in a rocking chair.
Moving right into DIY number 2, and FYI, this is my favorite one. I got this piece at the Goodwill the other day, and I don't know what it was originally used for. I got it for just $2.99. I'm thinking that it must have held some kind of pictures in these 4 windows here, and somebody just took the back of it off. But that's no problem. It's nothing that a little bit of foam board can't fix up, and that's exactly what we're going to do, and we're going to fix her up just like she's new. The first thing that I needed to do was take that old bow off, which I did, and I cleaned it up real good, and I'm using that tobacco road again to stain it. Now, like I said, the tobacco road pretty much was the first one that I grabbed, or I probably would have used that Waverly Antique Wax. But they're very similar, so if you have Waverly Antique Wax, you know you're going to get about the same look. I love this dark color. It just screams farmhouse to me. And I went all over this thing, inside, outside, and upside down side. And then I used just a baby wipe to get off the excess. I measured out the back part so I would know how I need to cut down the foam board. And it was 28.5 by 15.5. Then I measured it out on my little piece of foam board there, and I used my rotary blade to cut it down to the size that I needed. I'm going to cover my foam board with some drop cloth, and I get my drop cloth from the Walmart. It's a 6 by 9, so it's not going to take very much. And I lay it down in the floor, and then I just mark it out where I need to cut it and cut my dimensions as I need. I gave myself at least an inch excess all the way around my foam board, and then I just used my hot glue gun to glue it down. I checked to make sure that it was going to fit okay, and it is. I'm not gluing anything down yet. And then I just took a pencil and I kind of went very lightly around the open areas. That way I know exactly where I need to put my print and what area is going to be covered up. So I pulled out my stamps, and the ones that I'm going to use is the IOD La Campagna. It's got like very rural, I can't say that word, rural scenes on it. R-U-R-A-L, okay, never been able to say that word. But it's got like little cows on it, chickens, a sheep. It's just really nice and pretty, and it goes with this whole scheme. Now, I don't know if I've ever used this stamp before. This came out in their spring collection. And when you first get these stamps, you have to run like a light sanding sponge across it. I just go one way and then I turn it and go the other way. And the reason for that is you're getting any kind of like excess off of it that may have came during the shipping that the factory had left on there. It just helps your stamps to be very vibrant and have that gorgeous look. You only do it the very first time you use it, and then you never have to do it again. Now, you know as well as I do that one of these stamps that I'm going to pick is going to be a chicken. Now, there is a huge rooster on one of these stamps, but he's kind of too big to go in the spot that I need. There's actually that one big rooster, and then there's 2 separate hens with little chick babies running around. There's like a strawberry patch on here. There is a steer laying down and then standing up in a different scene. A little sheep. I mean, There's all kinds of stuff on these stamps, and don't forget the florals that's on these stamps. And that's the first thing that I inked up, was some of these florals that I thought was really pretty. And I'm going to stamp it at the top. The way that you do these stamps is when you lay it down, you're going to hold it with one hand at all times and kind of give pressure with the other hand. And that helps the stamps get a good, even, go at it. Now, this thing that I'm using to put my stamps on is called a thin mount. I really like it because it's got the lines and the grids on it. And so I can put all my little chickens like where they actually look like they're standing on the same ground. You know what I mean? They're not like at different levels or anything like that. But you'll notice here that I hold it still with one hand and then move it around with the other. Now, the ink that I like to use is the archival ink. I get it off of Amazon. I think it's only like $8, and it's a permanent ink, which I like that. And I just want to show you this steer. It's one of my favorite ones. I think it's so pretty. And look how pretty that is. He's just kind of standing there like, moo. And I just think he's so pretty. I wanted to double stamp it because I was afraid I didn't get it bright enough the first time. And then I immediately wipe off all my stamps right away with a little baby wipe. And then I just kind of wash them off later. But I don't worry too much about it because 99% of the time I always use the black ink. So it's not like I'm putting any other color of ink. But you can use ink or paint with these stamps. And if you want to try some of the IOD stamps or the DIY paint or anything that you see me using in my videos, y'all know the drill. Miss Lori over at Milton's Daughter has most of the supplies that I use. I always leave her down in the comments and the description box so she's easy to find. And the reason why I talk about her every time is because if I don't, somebody's going to ask me, where do I get those stamps? I love them. So I always just throw it out there so you know about Miss Lori. And while I've got a minute when I'm showing you these stamps, I wanted to mention, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because that really, really helps me out on YouTube. It helps them to push my channel out there to people who've never seen me before, and it just helps my channel out so much. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. We'd love to have you here in our family. Now here I'm just using the typesetting stamp. It's from IOD also. And I'm just kind of wiping off any of the excess that I may have got on my thin mount. And you see what I'm going to do is the same thing as flip it over. And when I drop it, I am committed. You don't move it after you drop it down. I'm going to hold it with one hand at all times and use the other hand to press through to get my wording on there. I wanted to put a little wreath in the middle of this because I felt like it was just plain and needed something. I got this wreath at Hobby Lobby. It had $11.99 on it, but I know I got it when it was half off, so I paid probably $6 for it basically. And I need a small wreath, so I clipped it off and then I just kind of wound it around itself. And I'm going to use some floral wire and I'm just going to tie it up so I can make it smaller. Now, I could not figure out which kind of wreath I liked, so in the pictures, you're going to see 3 or 4 different wreaths on this thing, because after I put this one on there, I realized that I liked a different one even better, and then I found an even better one. So you'll just see as we go along in the pictures. I took some of that mesh ribbon that I get from the Dollar Tree. I really like this stuff. It just gives a little texture, and I felt like the wreath needed something kind of simple. So I just kind of wound it around itself a few times and just tied it in the middle and made a simple bow tie, if you will. And then I'm just going to tie that onto my little wreath. And I hope you like this one, and you will see the different wreaths here in my pictures.
She thinks I'm a little lazy. I think she's a little crazy. We like summer and we like spring, watching wrestling in the rain. She ain't shy, she speaks her mind, tough as nails and smooth as wine. We burn hot as kerosene, baby, we got our own thing. She ain't skinny and I ain't tall, and that don't bother us at all. I run naked through the yard, she flash every police car, drinking wine and getting tired, shooting out the damn street lights. How does she put up with me? Oh, baby, we got our own thing. We got our own thing. We don't need no rain. We ain't rich, but son of a, we're a hillbilly king and queen. Life don't seem so hard with you beneath the stars, 'cause we're growing 4-leaf clovers in the yard.
There ain't nothing that he can't fix. He's a hard-headed son of a bitch. We got married on the Georgian line. Watch out, ladies, this one is mine. He works hard and just don't quit, even if his pants don't fit. Lord, he'll be the death of me. Baby, we've got our own thing. We eat good like you ought to do. Mashed potatoes and gravy too. Picnic table out in the back. He's only had one heart attack.
Now we're going into our last DIY. I felt like this makeover room needed some type of a floral, so I've got like a little flower pot from the Dollar Tree, and I wasn't sure if I was going to use anything besides the napkin, so I have one of those little Chalk Couture. It's not Chalk Couture brand, it came from Amazon. But anyways, I'm just going to lay down a little bit of wax paper, and I'm going to just kind of messily go all over the bottom part of my little flower pot here. And I'm using the color Beadboard by DIY Paint, and it doesn't have to be perfect by any means because we're just going to cover it up with a napkin anyways. But I need the white so that that napkin will pop. We're going to do some decoupage, and I'm using my liquid patina. What I do is just put a little bit on my pointer finger and my thumb, and that way I can separate the layers of my napkin. Now, I got this napkin from Temu, and it's kind of a cheap napkin. It only had one layer on the back, so I went ahead and peeled it off. I wet the end of a little paintbrush, and I just go all around because we don't do straight edges. And I'm just barely wetting it, and then I'm just tearing the edges because it looks more natural when you do that. Now, I'm going to attempt to put this whole napkin on my little flower pot. But as you can see, it doesn't go around perfectly. I'm going to go in small sections. I just lay my napkin down. And this is a very, very thin napkin. And I put a very, very, very small amount of that liquid patina down. I mean a tiny amount. And then I just kind of lay it down. And then I'm going to pull out my saran wrap and get my piece to where I can just kind of lay it down over it and pull it down taut, because that will help get any wrinkles out. Now, since this napkin is so thin, I really could not avoid some wrinkles, but they didn't look bad. It actually looked good on this. Some things look good with a little bit of wrinkle to them. So I went all the way around this and did that same thing. I would put down a little bit of the liquid patina, and then I would grab my saran wrap and kind of pull it down taut and then go over it with my finger. And that way I'm getting out the most amount of wrinkles that I possibly can. But there was no way that I could get every single wrinkle out of this. Now, when I got to the area where that napkin stopped, all I did was just take a small piece of another little piece of napkin and lay it over that. And I just literally decoupaged it right over the top of the other one. You can never tell once you get it all on there. And that's another reason why it's best to have a white background when you're decoupaging, because it makes that napkin pop, but it also hides any imperfections. I took my little sanding sponge and I just went all the way down around the bottom to get that excess napkin off. And it comes off very easily. And then I worked with that saran wrap just a little bit more to make sure that we could get the most amount of wrinkles out that we possibly could. Then up at the top, right under that jute cord, and by the way, that jute actually came on this flower pot, but I just used my little hand sander there, my little finger sander, and I just kind of went in an upward motion, and it caused all of that excess napkin to come right off with no problem. Then I just took my lighter so I could burn off all those little excess fuzzies that's on that jute twine. There was a lot of them. Just use caution whenever you do this, and always make sure you're very careful with it. But I hold mine on there for a long time, and I never have any problems with it burning or anything like that. Then I took a piece of floral foam and I laid it down in my little flower pot. I added a little bit of Spanish moss and then some of this Excelsior. It's called Super Moss. It comes from Hobby Lobby. I like to use different florals when I'm making an arrangement, and I'm using this boxwood that comes from Walmart, and I put the tallest pieces in the middle. I added 2 pieces in the middle, and then I added 1 on the left side and 1 on the right side. That's always my rule of thumb, is what goes on the left goes in the same spot on the right, and what you put in the back goes in the same spot on the front. I'm going to use these lavender picks from Walmart, and it just says lavender mix on it, and I really do think these are pretty. I'm going to go through and cut them all off, and I added 2 in the center just like I did my others. I'm going to add 1 on the left and 1 on the exact same spot on the right. And then I'm just going to kind of fill it in. I went in the very back and I added a couple there. I actually ended up using about 2.5 of these stems of these flowers. I added 2 more in the back, and then I'm going to add 2 more in the front. Like I said, whatever I do in the back, I do it in the same spot in the front. And whatever I do on the left, I do in the same spot on the right. And I just went through and kind of felt it out just to see where it needed any excess. I added a couple more pieces of that boxwood because I felt that it needed it. And of course, where I added it on the left, I'm going to add it right back on the right. And then I made sure that I kept fluffing it out just to get it placed where I needed it to go. Then I'm going to grab some of this baby's breath, and this came from Walmart also. I put 2 in the front, 1 on the left side of the front and 1 on the right side. And then I needed a little bit in the center there just to make it look cohesive. So I stuck a piece right in the center. And then I stuck 1 more piece in the center just to make it a little bit more fuller. And then I always kind of step back and look at it and see what I need and where I need it at. And here I'm just adding in 1 or 2 little pieces of that lavender because I felt that it needed it. I added 1 on the left and then another on the right. I hope you like this one. And if you stuck with me through this whole video, I just want to say thank you so much for coming and spending your time with me and watching me craft today. I enjoyed my time with you as I always do. Guys, my videos for the summer are every Monday and Thursday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I hope that you would subscribe if you haven't already, because we would love to have you a part of our family here. And if I could just remind you one more time, please don't forget to hit the like button, because that really helps me out on YouTube and it really helps support my channel. I love you guys, and I will see you back here in a few days, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. You have a blessed day, my friends.